Hello, race fans. Welcome back to Trust the Profits. And this is Doubling Down, and I'm your host, Colin Sheehan, where each week we put together a daily double ticket. As we enter episode 82, we've almost had a 2-year run here on the show, which I'm proud of. And most importantly, as I've said from day one, although you've heard some familiar voices along the way, the goal of this show is to bring to you new voices every so often. And I can't believe that my own member of Trust the Profits is making his debut today in the formula. So please stick around as we once again head over to Saratoga for a big weekend with the Lake Placid and the Alabama, which does not have Torpedo Anna. Torpedo Anna, to me, is the story of the horse racing world right now. Anytime a filly can make an impact, even just appearing in a race as big as the Travers, it's going to grab the attention. And it's really important for us as horse racing fans to amplify the story of Torpedo Anna, how awesome she has been, and the challenge that she is going to have against established horses such as Dornoch and maybe Fierceness. It's going to be a great addition. We'll get into that next week. That will obviously be a huge focus of the channel here as we will pull together the content for you. But we got to get through this weekend first with Torpedo Anna not in the Alabama. Stick around to see where me and the formula decide to go on this episode of Doubling Down. That's right, formula. I don't know how you've dodged the bullet for this long, but you are in the crosshairs this week.
You mean this isn't the inaugural episode? I thought you were asking me on because you wanted to kick something new off.
Hey, where you been? Where you been?
What's going on here? And by
Yes.
the way, is it Torpedo Anna or is it Thorpedo Anna? I mean,
Oh, wow.
that's the way I read it. I'm just reading through names here. I see a TH. That sounds like a torpedo to me. But then again, my first name is Thomas, so I dropped the H there, and
There
don't
you
look the
go.
other way.
Very true. Well, welcome aboard to Doubling Down. Please let the viewers know, are
Yeah.
you a daily double player?
I like to play a lot of them in theory. When it comes to any of these like sheets that we put out, when it comes to any of the races that I look deep into, I always try to take a look at each race and I try to look at the horizontals, especially lately. Like I was telling you in our pre-show prep here, I've been especially lately trying to break them down and say, okay, let's take a look at this. Even if I'm not going to be playing it with a bankroll, it's like, what would I play here? What would be a realistic one without completely blowing one out of the water? So I've been working on my game. I've been trying to skill my craft on paper here, and let's see if I can make some damage in the future. See if I
You,
can
well,
make some
you
damage on doubling down. Finally, I
That's right.
made it
Well,
here. Right?
you sent me slides as a
Oh
seasoned
yeah,
veteran of making videos, and look at this. It's just doubling down. The formula takes over and dominates. So
Capital D on
immediately setting
dominates.
up
Yep.
the expectations for the viewers.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be throwing some curveballs here. I did not completely chalk it up. I mean, I'm not one of those people that wants to throw out the chalk every single time and say no, 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 no mas. Sometimes you got to lean on it a little bit for safety and comfort, but I've got some curveballs in here as well. So hopefully the viewers have fun with that.
Yeah, let's get to it. And I'll mention that if you check out the Wolf of Oakland's podcast this week, I joined him today, and we did the late pick 5 at Saratoga. So I needed to stay true to myself. I couldn't give out a pick 5 ticket over there, then come over here and all of a sudden change all my picks. I did make a few tweaks. Those few tweaks are adding a couple horses because it's a daily double as opposed to a pick 5. So for
Yeah.
ticket structure costs, those one extra horse that I really liked, or two extra horses that I really liked, who I talked about on his show, I was able to sneak in here. The first leg that we're looking at is race 9. This is the Lake Placid Stakes. Grade 2 on the inner turf, going a mile and a 16th, has a class rating of 103. A nice healthy field of 11.
Yeah.
Formula, I love the turf. I feel confident in my plays on the turf, so I felt pretty good in my choices here. The next race, maybe not so much. You went really deep, which makes me think that you thought this was as competitive as a race as I did. Where did
Hmm.
you end up?
Yeah. I went wide on this one. I dug into it. I went in order here on mainly where my formulas saw the action, and I think maybe I threw in an extra one here. Um, yeah, I basically followed the sheet, but there are a couple extra ones I jumped in and grabbed here. So the first one, right, an Appleby horse being entered in. That's that's a good one to go skinny on. But this is a deep race. We got 14 horses entered in here. I looked at the horse. I Charles Appleby can lose. You know, 4-1, wasn't even the favorite going into this race, but you got to put him on your card, obviously. Last time out, being driven by a Buick, Hardy Har Har, uh, got a 6-length win in an 11-horse field. First time racing in the U.S. for this horse, so I didn't feel comfortable going too skinny, leaving that horse on. So I did go pretty deep here. Going down to the next horse, this is the chalk here. She feels pretty at 2-1 opening. Very chalky. Came in third at the BC Juvenile for fillies, half a length behind the winner there. So a good performance for a third place finish, followed by dominating with a 6-length win at Pimlico in the Hilltop. Then closing from third place, 3/4 lengths loss at Belmont Oaks. So this horse has been in some pretty high level races here per class, right? Probably the best horse in here in terms of being tested in class. I got 4 more left. Dynamic pricing at 6-1. IRAD plus Chad. Chad's got a bunch loaded in here. I think I counted 3 Chad horses. There's another Chad and another other Chad. Maybe a fourth one if I go down deep enough here, but I think it's only 3. Has a G2 win. By my numbers, has the best win out of all these horses, which is something I often look at. Something that I think Tim has even sort of imparted on me, looking for that best win. He likes to look for the best maiden win, but I'm looking at the best win in the last 10 races, and this horse had it for me. Um, and now I'm going a little bit deeper. We're going into some 8s and a 10. So Grayish with Flavian Pratt on the mount. Last time lost by a nose to Proctor Street, which is another horse I'll talk about. Going the same distance at Saratoga, another Chad Brown horse, had a good time. The next horse, Proctor Street, Tyler Gaffleone and Brendan Walsh, on a horse that Tyler won on at Saratoga just a month ago. And finally, again, I'm like, I'm at 5. Why not go 6? Deep Satin, Jose Ortiz, who is dangerous on turf. Um, Always seems to have a horse in the running. His horses seem to come out of nowhere. This horse dropped a 141 a month back at Saratoga, going the same distance here. The track record being 138 by Ring Weekend a few years back. Won it from 9th position. He was a 1A in that race, stalked the pace the entire way, and closed like a beast. So I decided this is the race I'm going to go deep in, and I'm going to skinny it up in the next race, even though there were a couple other horses that I wanted in order to save cost and in order to go big. It's turf. It's 14 horses, probably going to get cut down to about 12 or 11. This is the place to make your money, in my opinion.
Yeah, so some good points. What I will say about that Appleby horses, and Vinny, our friend Vinny Blonde has put me on this. He goes, "You got to
Smart
be
guy.
careful when Appleby, because maybe that this horse love isn't as keyed up as you may want when without Billy Buick, because Billy Buick's the one that has ridden this home to the victory. So 4-1 with Manny Franco on that outside. I'm going to pass here on Beautiful Love, but I don't blame you for adding to the ticket. My top pick was She Feels Pretty. Not going to leave this horse off. I think going through the past performances, as I mentioned on the Wolf Show this morning, Equibase does a nice job here with RaceLens of highlighting races that are at least even or above. Okay, so 3 grade 1 races here for She Feels Pretty, including a victory back at Woodbine in September of last year. But the blue circle here on these 108s means that the highest class, this horse raced in the highest class in the field and has earned the highest speed figure in the field as well. But, you know, I look to pay attention to not just one big gigantic number like that with a 108. I like to see that it's got 2 100s before it, okay? Or she, I should say, sorry. So you're getting Johnny V, who's staying aboard for Sherry DeVoe, who's a very capable trainer here in this situation. A horse that can sit just off the pace, make that little bit of a closing kick. But when I see 100, 100, 108, that doesn't mean the 108 to me is a standout. I think that this horse is going to land in that area.
Yeah.
of a speed figure. And as you go through, Deep Satman 94, the 2 in 91, the 3 the 91, the 4 in 94, these are all mid
Yep.
90s. Now you had the number 6 who actually put up 100, but there was only that one. And that makes me think that maybe right in that ceiling is where this horse's ceiling is. So that's why I landed on She Feels Pretty, a horse that I was very comfortable with adding. I am going to use the 9 Proctor Street as well, a little bit of a
Yep.
lightly raced horse here who's also going to be closing lately. Had some trouble in that first start, but both of these races on the turf were at 1.16 miles, which is the same distance as today. And what I see here for Proctor Street is back-to-back 91s. Well, a horse that starts with 91 is going to get some experience. That wasn't an outlier because it came back with another 91. So another step forward here from Proctor Street. To me, with Ghost Zapper on the dam side, he's going to show maybe some speed there coming down the stretch. And at 8-1 with T. Gaff and Brendan Walsh for a dam. Look at this dam formula. Proctor's Ledge, 2 starts, 2 wins. Of course, they're both for this horse. Nice
Yeah.
little 1140 positive ROI. Obviously, the 17-1 in that last race for this horse is the reason for those big pops. So I will use the 7 and the 9. And then I did not use dynamic pricing on my pick 5, but this is a horse that I kind of wanted to because similar to what I mentioned about seeing some races here that certainly fit with the last 3 being highlighted. 4 races at 3 races at 1.16 miles, last one at 1.316 miles. Had an awkward start in that last race, and that was
Yes.
the same race that comes out of She Feels Pretty and Cinderella's Dream. If you remember, and you can do this really quickly here with RaceLens, Cinderella's Dream is circled. She's the one that came back to win when I was there up at Saratoga Whitney weekend in the Saratoga Oaks Invitational. So Cinderella's Dream, very formidable foe in that race. So I will go 7, 9, 10 and cap it at that for those 3. So at least I know if I'm getting through the first leg, then you're getting through the first leg. So we're
That's
okay
true.
there, all right? And
Yeah.
that sets
Yeah.
us up nicely to move
Go
on
team.
forward to race 10, which brings us right to the Alabama Stakes. And we've talked about Torbita Anna not being in there.
Yeah.
Let's bring up your slides. And we didn't get a chance to tell the people. You can go in the description to find the formulas. Formula, I guess if you
The
want to
tip
call it that way.
sheets. Yeah. The
The
tip
cheat sheets.
sheets.
There you go. Sorry, I lost my train.
No.
And why don't you, for someone that maybe is looking at these for the first time, where should their eye kind of draw to? I usually always fall in that power fig number there, right in the middle.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where you start?
I like to start there and then I like to take a look at what else is going on in the race and see if there's anything else that really pops out. So, the big thing that I'm putting emphasis on here is the 10 furlongs, right? So 10 furlongs, it's an odd length, it's a long distance. Um, so I would also look for closers. I would look for closers that are looking at the closer, also considering where their pace is. If there's a horse on here that looks like has a pace advantage, I often use that only if it's like a shorter distance, a 1 turn, or if it looks like they're not going to be fading by the end of the race. In this race, that's why I'm counting out the 2 horse, because I don't think being on the pace that early in a 10 furlong race is going to be an advantage necessarily. Sometimes I also look at the ratings for the jockey trainer and sire, which is a new thing that I added recently. Taking a look at that just to see like how those are scored out. Those are proprietary scoring methods that we use. And then taking a look at recent race performance. That's where I've got my own formula that rates each of the races, sort of like my own speed figure, averaging it out over the last 2 or 3 races, and spitting out a score here. So um, I took a look at a lot of these different things. And then before coming on your show, I also, especially because we were going 10 furlongs in this race, I wanted to take a deeper look and say, okay, so who's done this before? Who's even gotten close to this? And there's 2 horses that stuck out to me in terms of doing it before, and they weren't the chalk, right? So Candied has not raced this distance before. Not a perfect horse, 7-5, but it is the most tested horse here, the 7 horse Candied. Best performance in G1s. At the CCCA Oaks, got second place at Torpedo Anna, well behind Torpedo Anna, as you mentioned before. I mean, that's been a pretty impressive horse. Not a great 9 for a long time at 151, a little bit closer to a 152. Third place at BC Juvenile Fillies last year, not bad. But just on class, I figured I have to put Candied in here. It's my top pick, at least per the power figures. So I'm going to align at least with Candied and say, okay, just out of pure safety, got to put that horse in there. There's a reason this horse is 7-5. And then I do skip a few horses. So I really want to pick, just on my own, I want to pick Miss Justify, but I can't. The longest race Miss Justify's been at is 8 furlongs, and she's jumping up 2 furlongs in this race. Can't necessarily do it. Tempted by Power Squeeze as well. Um, Intricate, not necessarily as tempted by Intricate as well. I think Candied has already shown that she can beat Intricate, so I'm going to take Candied over Intricate in that case. And I am cutting back to 2 horses here, even though I have 3 highlighted. I'm cutting back to 2 because I went 6 deep in the first race. So my next horse coming up here is Just Basking. Doesn't come from Justify, like the name would suggest, but still a strong horse. Let me see what the Arrogate. Yeah, Arrogate, a horse that has definitely run well at 10 furlongs in the past, a winner of BC Classic. So I definitely like the bloodlines a lot here. Best performance at 10 furlongs, in my opinion. Broker Maiden at Churchill going 10 furlongs. Starting out in the back. This was a 10 to 12 horse race, if I'm not mistaken. It was a deep race, 10 horses, starting out way in the back, and just started picking horses off one at a time. By the end of it, she was up almost 8 lengths by the end. A 2:03. Secretariat clocked a 1:59.4 at Saratoga. But yeah, I got to put that in there. Secretariat's record. And then
That's 20
followed up
lengths
at
behind, by the way. 204 is
yeah,
about
yeah.
25 lengths behind, so not 38, but 24.
It's Secretariat though. Um, just throwing that out there. But in terms of all the other horses in this race and the other horses that have been running 10 furlongs in the other races that these 2 horses have been in, it was considerably better. Iowa Oaks, 5 horses in that one, 8.5 furlongs, started out in the back, worked her way up. 4 3/4 lengths win there. There was a race in between those that was not nearly as impressive. Had some troubles getting started out there. I think it was like a 8.5 furlong or a 1 mile race. Um, but yeah, this horse has won a couple races, untested, loves the distance, closes well, moves well around traffic, is able to pick off other horses, even though she starts in the back, and 10 furlong suits her well. At 5-1, I like Just Basking. I like Just Basking to win. Actually, that would be my pick to win, even though not super high on the power figures here. I just think because of the distance, it suits her well. And Neon Icon is the other horse that's raced at 10 furlongs. Had a pretty good race there, but I just couldn't squeeze her in. At 15-1, I had to make a call on one or the other. Had a little bit of a worse time. Wasn't as deep of a field. I thought the win from Just Basking was a little bit more impressive. Followed up with a clunker at Indiana Oaks. Started out awkwardly in that one. Never got as close to the paces I think Neon Icon needs to be at. Yeah. So there you go. I went with the 7 and the 4 in this one. Went a little skinny.
Nice. And Candies is obviously, for me, if I'm going to go with Candied, I single her here at 7-5. And for the reasons you said, obviously the most tested. This is the horse that people are going to look at the past performances and see Just FYI and Leslie's Rose and no Torpedo Anna. And I think that a little bit in and of itself is why people may consider Candied a single, and rightfully so. But I think that this is an opportunity to maybe take her down, and I'm gonna
Sure.
take her off my ticket. And if she beats me, hey, I tip my hat and say I was wrong. I went the wrong way, and that happens, and I'm okay with that, knowing that it's a horse like Candied, and I took a shot.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna take my shot, hopefully I'm not gonna miss. I'm gonna use America's Vow, and I see on your formula here that it does not agree with America's Vow, and I didn't use America's Vow on my pick 5. And as I was sitting here listening to you talk, I was like, man, why didn't I use America's Vow on my pick 5? And the reason that I'm pretty high on America's Vow, and I said this multiple times over the Wolf Show, is look at this continual steady increase of speed figures. Now the 90 is not going to get it done. The horse has to improve, but that race was at 1.125 up at Saratoga on the dirt at 35-1. With Sayas aboard, stayed close to the pace, and was able to win by 3 lengths. But when you see this nice big green button, I always have to check out what my angle is, okay? And so you've talked a lot about the distance. Well, check this out, because one of those big green ones is that horses sired by Constitution at the mile and an eighth over to longer, 20% with a success score of 7.8 and an ROI of 72%. So the
Yep.
Constitution on top, going this much longer distance,
Yeah.
has me feeling okay using America's Vow. And hopefully, what we saw in the last was, what not all that we're going to see, and hopefully there'll be another step up there. The
Yeah.
thing that concerns me is, took a long ways to break the maiden. Um, had to drop
And the
down to
Oaks.
53K. Yeah, I ran in the Oaks and did not show up at all. So there's a little bit of, hopefully the 3-year-old season here trumps the
Yeah.
2-year-old season, and maybe there's something that we haven't seen yet.
You've
I'm
definitely
also
got
going to
padding in there, though. I will say that. It's not a single. You got padding in there.
I got padding. I got some other ones to go with. We'll go to the two Chalice you tossed, but to
I did.
me, formula, this is really lone speed. So
It
yes,
is.
maybe out there, maybe tired, but look at the ones pass performances: fourth and fifth. The 3, 5th, 8th, 13th, 5th. The 4, 5, 5, 8, 7, 9. America's Vow, maybe if it comes back to the race that had last time, maybe there's some early speed that you might get from America's Vow.
Yeah.
Misjustified, possibly a little. Misjustified is the other horse I'm going to use. Candy to be off the pace, and from Neon Icon, another horse that's not necessarily forwardly placed either. So our angle, and me and Wolf using this, and Wolf actually singled this too, which to me is a little crazy.
Yeah.
But at 8-1, that's the angle. This is the horse that's going to be out there out in front, and you're hoping that it can get out, slow it down, and just take them wire to wire. The speed figure in the last fits in that grade 3. The other thing that I thought was interesting here was this horse was previously trained by a 12% trainer.
Yeah.
It moves
For
up to
one
Mark
race.
Watt, who at this distance and surface is hitting at 26%. So there
Yeah.
was a little bit of you getting maybe an improvement from a trainer standpoint as well.
Yeah,
Moving
this
out from
horse
Indiana.
was trained by Forster for one race before
Oh, good
I think
point.
yeah, and then Glatt had the previous races before that, but had tremendous success. I mean, this is a horse that he's run through two G1s, two G2s, and then Forster ran him in the Indiana Oaks to success, right?
Yeah.
Got a win at almost 11-1. So this has been a horse that's had some success. Obviously, if it were a shorter distance, I think I'd be on board with you. I think this would be a really interesting play, purely based on the pace numbers because lone speed.
Absolutely. So that's my angle. And then we'll use Miss Justify. I think this is an extremely talented horse. I know your concern is, of course, the distance, but Justify on top
Yeah.
has me feeling less concerned about what this horse is possible. The Dam Swiss Alps. We can take a look here.
Oh, I'm
Lifetime
curious.
dirt routes, 5 starts, 2 wins, 152 ROI. Both of those coming actually from Miss Justify.
Mm-hmm.
So the horse that we have in today has really been the only successful out of this dam, but
Yeah.
at least it's been there. So the distance hopefully comes from Justify. You're getting Todd
Yep.
Pletcher and Flavian Prat aboard, another horse that could, who I mentioned, has both gone wire to wire, as he did 2 back in a key race at Churchill, means that 3 horses came back to win that race. And also up here at Saratoga came from off the pace. And that's just something that I really love to see for a 3-year-old filly, is a horse that has versatility. So falls behind is going to be okay, like in the maiden breaker or last race, or maybe can just go out and set the pace up front with the number 2, and maybe Miss Justify gets that first run on the rest of the field and is able to get there first. So those are the 3 that I'm going to use. I'm going to go with the
Yeah.
2, the 5, and the 6 here in the Alabama.
Excellent.
What do you think? Anything on? Do you worry about not using Miss Justify, because that was the one you had talked about that you were a little concerned about?
I'm a fan of Miss Justify. It's just the distance hurts me, right? When I looked at this race, I immediately thought, "Oh, Miss Justify. That's the first horse I'm going to go with." And then I scanned through and I looked at the mile and the 7 furlong and the 6 furlong, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, where's the distance? Where's the distance?" Doesn't necessarily mean the horse can't do it. Doesn't necessarily mean that the horse won't win this race, but it's a flag for me jumping up 2 furlongs like that. Not even getting up to 8.5 first. So sometimes I take a look at these races and I do like to put emphasis on distance, having gone the distance and having success at the distance. And I think that's what won it for me, is just seeing the opportunity to get some value on just basking at 5-1, even looking at what was the other one, Neon Icon, potentially
Yep.
taking that horse in as
15 to
well,
1.
just because they've both had success at this distance, and success at yeah, also at 8.5 furlongs as just basking. So yeah,
There you have it. The formula has survived so far, the doubling down challenge. Here is our tickets. I'm going to go 7, 9, 10 with the 256. That'll cost you $9 for a $1 ticket. Obviously, leaving off Candied is hopefully where I'm going to get some of those payouts. She feels pretty might knock those down. Always look at the probables if you're going to play this. See what the 7 into the 256 pays, and maybe put a little extra dollars on the 7, and then you're okay with the 9 and the 10. The formula is going to go 1, 2, 7 with the 9. Sorry, 1, 2, 7, 9, 10 with the
11.
4,
You left the
7.
11 off. I'm sorry about that, but
Oh, I
it's
thought
all
it,
right.
oh,
I'm
that's
just
great.
throwing it in there. Don't want to miss that Applebee.
Hold on. Did we screw it up? Let's
That's
see.
okay.
Oh, the Applebee was the 11. You're right. So 1,
We're
2,
good.
7, 9, 10, 11 with the 4, 7 for the formula. Hopefully, no
Yes.
one just looks at the ticket and they can hear us say that. We'll wave our hands and say, stop and listen. He added the 11. He added the 11. We'll drop it in the comments for you all. The formula is doing great things out there, both with his tip sheet and with the full field preview. Stay tuned next week for all of our Travers covers, because that is our it's sad that we're already at Travers, but it's
It feels
exciting
like
because
summer's
it's going to
almost
be,
over.
it is over.
Yeah.
Kids are going back to school. Where did they go, formula? But
Yeah.
we'll at least have a lot of talk to do with Torpedo Anna next week, so we look forward
Yes.
to that as well.
Should be fun.
Please smash that like and subscribe button. Good luck to everybody out there. Please put in the comments what your doubling down ticket is going to be, so we can keep track of you as well. Until next time, I'm Colin. He's the formula. Good luck, everybody.